USC's Rodney Peete and UCLA's Troy Aikman were both eligible for the 1989 NFL Draft. There was no surprise in Los Angeles when Aikman was picked first by Dallas. But when Peete lasted until the 6th round, till the 141st choice, there was shock, in large part because the two times the two of them faced each other, Peete led his Trojans to convincing victories over Aikman's Bruins. Years later, they meet again on Monday night in a Dallas-Philadelphia game with a decided Southern California feel. At Irving, that's the guy who went to UCLA. His team's down 3-0. Then he gives the ball to the guy who went to neither of those schools. And see ya, Emmitt Emitz. 39-yard touchdown. The Cowboys are up 7-3. Here's the next series. And you know all the stats about what happens when Emmitt Smith carries the ball 20 times or gets 100 yards. Smith, the 13-yard run up the middle. 4 plays after that. Aikman goes up top looking for this Irvin guy. Mark McMillan deflects the pass. Bobby Taylor makes the interception as we're playing a little volleyball here, and the Cowboys will come up empty. The Eagles, though, will have to punt. This is a shock. Kevin Williams is set for the Pokes. And they're going to give the ball to Deion on the reverse. Oh, it's Deion Sanders. There's been a Deion Sanders sighting. He's running. He's using his feet and not his mouth. He goes up the sidelines. He stops. He pops. He shakes. He bakes. 45 yards. The return leads to a field goal. Cowboys lead 10-3. And he renegotiated his contract after that play. Second quarter, Cowboys are up 10-3. Here's Aikman looking for Smith off the screen pass. He's going to get 12 yards on this. That puts him over 10,000 combined yards in his career. It seemed like it was in this game, 10,000 combined yards. 3 plays later, Aikman, long distance to Irvin. Greg Jackson, that's a no-no. Interference. Ernie Zampisi, smoke him if you got him, pal. The offensive coordinator calls Irvin's number again. 1st and 10 from the 11. Touchdown. Nice of them not to put any defenders on him. Cowboys go up 17-3. Greg Jackson tries to explain the defensive backfield problems. Hello, hello. Late the second, Rodney Peete throws it up for grabs. And Deion Sanders has his first interception as a Cowboy. A little bit confused as the direction to go in, but it still counts. Eagles are down 17-6 in the third. Here's Peete again, this time with one of his own guys. Great reception. Calvin Williams off the full extension. 2-2. 2 plays later. Ricky Waters. Touchdown, Philadelphia. Barry Switzer says, I don't like that John Facenda impression. The Eagles go for 2 points on the conversion. Not quite. It's 17-12, and then Emmitt Smith runs it in. The 3-yard touch. The Cowboys go up 24-12. And it's over. Smith scores twice. Dallas is now 7-0 in the last 7 against Philadelphia. They were a 14-point favorite, and you know they covered, obviously. Obviously, Mr. Smith scored 158 yards on your total. So they are now, Dallas Cowboys, 40-3. 40-3 when he rushes for more than 100 yards in one game. And they're now 57-6 when he carries 20 or more times. Pretty simple to figure that one out. Gary?
We'll get out to Texas Stadium momentarily for a reaction to the Cowboys' big win. Right now, other concerns around the NFL. Jeff Hostetler continues to be amongst the hardiest of the NFL's herd of injured hurlers. Having already missed a game with a throat injury, the Raiders' Hoss played much of Sunday's win at Cincinnati with a broken bone in his left hand. And he expects to start against his ex-teammates in New York next week. Defensive lineman Aaron Wallace broke his right hand. He played the second half of the win against the Bengals with a cast. Other impact injuries from the weekend. The Packers got tossed around savagely by the Vikings. Brett Favre had an ankle sprain, stepped on by a teammate. He'll sit out practice this week. They hope he can play against the Bears. They used 3 quarterbacks in the day. Ty Detmer tore ligaments in his right thumb. He'll be out more than a month. They've signed Bob Galliano to try and shore up the QB cores. The defense also got hurt. Sean Jones and Reggie White collided. Jones had a concussion. He should be back this week. White sprained his medial collateral. He won't miss any action either. Elvis Gerbach didn't look good, and he got hurt against Carolina. He'll have an MRI. He's probable for the game against the Cowboys. Kerry Conklin played a little bit on Sunday. Also in the fourth quarter, the leading back for the Panthers, Derek Moore, sprained the medial collateral in his knee. He's out at least a month. And the Jets, who have had plenty of quarterback problems, third-string QB Glenn Foley dislocating his shoulder. He'll have surgery. He's out for the year. Boomer Esiason said if he'd been playing the last 3 weeks, they'd be 3-0 in those games. He'll get his chance next week. And Natron Means, who had a career-best day in rushing against the Dolphins in the playoffs last year, had just 2 rushes. He is very questionable with a strained groin muscle. The Bills hope to have Thurman Thomas back this week, but Jeff Burris is out for the season, and Cornelius Bennett will be re-examined on Wednesday to see how long he'll miss. Jim Harbaugh came back and re-injured his groin on Sunday. Chris Warren's got a couple of concerns about next week, and also questionable defensive backs Donnell Wolford and Bensie Glenn.
It's official. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has now sued or been sued by everybody in the world. He sued the NFL today, $750 million antitrust. It's a countersuit from the league's legal action, trying to block the Cowboys' various independent business deals, such as the ones with Pepsi and Nike and blah, 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 blah.
It's real important, especially in light of the fact today that we've got an announcement of a team moving from a very viable city. The types of things that I'm proposing, marketing, taking older stadiums like Texas Stadium, and really making it viable and creating income, that's the kind of thing that'll keep clubs from moving.
ESPN's Andrea Kramer has learned that the only NFL owner not mentioned in Jones' suit was Al Davis of the Raiders. Jones later added, blah, 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 and through a spokesman, the NFL answered, blah, 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 blah. When we continue, the latest assault on the loyal fan. The Browns are going to Baltimore. We're coming right back.
True perfection.
That's right, Keith. And I think you guys pointed out that when Emmitt Smith runs for more than 100 yards, the Cowboys are 40-3. This guy's the main reason why. Nate Newton. Why is Emmitt able to do this, especially against the Eagles? 6 games now, averaging more than 150 yards.
Hey, Emmitt is special. They said he couldn't run when he came in the league, but he's a north-south runner, and you get a guy that can run through arm tackles like he did all night, some great things are going to happen.
I know when I talk to Eagles players before the game, they give you credit. You're the best offensive line in football. What were you able to do tonight to really a very undersized Philadelphia defensive line?
I don't know we're the best, but we try to use leverage and proper technique, keep our hands inside. We try to stay consistent, and we try to get strong as the game going because we know Emmitt going to be ready.
Can you also just feel when you're dominating a team, and did you feel that way tonight against the Eagles?
No, I didn't feel like we was dominating. We got to play them again. We did not dominate them. We just had a good night. Emmitt had a special good night, 27 carries, 158 yards. Mike Irvin broke some type of record. Troy was his usual self. We just got a lot of weapons. It's hard to stop.
Now, how come you know Emmitt's statistics better than I do? Is that a source of pride for you guys that you can get Emmitt over a certain number of yards each week?
That's right. Emmitt deserves it. Emmitt's been through a lot the last few years with a hamstring and, in the money situation. So we just want anything that's going to help keep this team together.
All right, Nate, thank you very much. It's a little Trey down here, his son, who's almost as tall as I am.
Yeah, the third.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Back to you.
Oh, yeah, and also we should mention Nate Newton's son, little boy there, is only like 4 months old. Later on in the big show, we'll do our breakdown segment on the paucity of defensive backfield skills shown by the Philadelphia Eagles, which meant like they didn't basically show up. Gary?
Not all was happiness in the NFL Monday. It's been more than a decade since Baltimore had to learn to live without pro football. Then they finally got a Canadian League team, only to be told they couldn't call them the Colts. So they went without a name before finally settling on the Stallions. Now the CFL team is talking about moving because Baltimore is being overcome with a new home with the Cleveland Browns.
I will tell you today, we are standing on the very spot where in less than 3 short years, I believe 70,000 cheering fans will be cheering for Maryland's newest team, the Baltimore Browns.
Can they really call them the Baltimore Browns? The tradition of that name is so deeply linked to Cleveland that it just doesn't seem just. But it also seems unjust that a franchise that has fostered such fervor that fan clubs gather to watch their games in uniforms in sports bars from Atlanta to California is skipping town. Bob Lee looks at how 2 of the NFL's most traditional towns are linked in glory and misery.
Their history mirrors the modern story of the National Football League, replete with the deeds of men such as Lou Groza, Otto Graham, and Jim Brown. 5-time champions of the NFL, the Cleveland Browns even now bring a retro feel to their Sunday wars, bracing winds off of Lake Erie on natural grass in front of 80,000 faithful. All of that may be gone to a city whose NFL life was spirited into Mayflower moving vans under cover of night 11.5 years ago. The Baltimore of Johnny Unitas and Tom Matty, of a passion so deep the Colts marching band still practices. That faith now apparently will be rewarded. But red-hot passion is no match for cold green cash.
I think it's unfortunately the new era of the NFL, and the finances of it dictate, things like this are going to happen.
Modell signed the contract to move his team October 27th on an airport runway aboard a private jet. Baltimore, stunned by the Colts' departure and teased by countless other teams, changed its strategy. This time, the state of Maryland's $200 million offer expired in less than 3 months.
I made it clear to everyone that Baltimore would no longer be used as leverage for an NFL team to secure better deals in other cities.
The Browns will play 2 seasons in Old Memorial Stadium, home of the CFL Stallions, and then open a 70,000-seat structure next to Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Modell's lease runs 30 years, with $80 million to be raised from premium seating charges. There is high irony in the Camden Yards site, for the Oriole Park throwback baseball look was mirrored at Jacobs Field in Cleveland. That park's construction fueled Modell's anger with the Cleveland city government. Cleveland spent $169 million on the Jake, nearly $150 million on the Cavaliers Gund Arena, and $92 million on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, while the Browns played in a 65-year-old cavern, Municipal Stadium.
Have we lost money? Millions. Millions.
Modell bought the Browns 34 years ago. He spent $4 million. That's less than the signing bonus he paid wide receiver Andre Rison this year. Modell recently bought out minority partner Bob Grease, who was opposed to the move. He then brought in Al Lerner of Baltimore. Modell's net, $50 million. Modell maintains he was frustrated in his behind-the-scenes talks to upgrade his stadium. Tuesday, Cuyahoga County voters will consider extending an alcohol and tobacco tax to raise $175 million to renovate Municipal Stadium. It is too late to satisfy Modell. Cleveland city officials are seeking a court order to bar the Browns' move. They may also attempt to seize the team under the principle of eminent domain. Baltimore tried that to keep the Colts. It failed. Modell is well aware of the visceral impact of his franchise's move. Even with greatly increased security, Modell was advised not to attend Sunday's Browns game. He missed his first home game in 35 years. 24 hours later, he was hailed as a hero in Baltimore.
I know what you went through 11 years ago, because that's exactly what's happening in Cleveland right now. And I am deeply, deeply sorry from the bottom of my heart.
But it is the bottom of his financial statement that may satisfy Baltimore's 11-year ache for the return of NFL football, with grief and pain back in Cleveland. Perhaps the ultimate and unintended retaliation for the Browns' last NFL championship in 1964. A 27-0 thrashing of the Baltimore Colts.
If the Browns do bolt for Baltimore after this season, they leave behind the longest-standing residents in the league, moving into Municipal Stadium just after World War II. Fittingly, Lambeau Field will become the new longtime residents champ next season.
Still ahead of us tonight on SportsCenter, we'll go back to Dallas for more reaction to the Cowboys-Eagles game. And why was Dion worth all that money? The Eagles defensive backs showed us tonight. That's next. This is SportsCenter.